Hi, boys and girls. Thanks so much for checking in with your learning for today. We are going to pick up right where we left off last time with our writing and talk about our sequence words. Last time we were together, I introduced and reviewed some words with you all. The words were first, next, then, and last. And these 4 words are super duper important when we're writing, especially when we're telling somebody what to do or how to do something, or if we're writing a story. These words help us to move through that story. They're kind of our moving words. So they help us transition from one thing to the next. We start with first, then we go to next, then we go to then, and then last is at the very, very end. So today, boys and girls, I wanted to check in with you. Last time I had asked you to brainstorm and think about any words that you know that might mean the same thing as some of these words. So for example, the word first. I'm sure that some of you were able to think of some words that mean the same thing as first or in the beginning. Yeah. I thought about in the beginning and to start. And also we talked about how first means the same thing as what number? 1. So the number 1 thing that we do first, there's all kinds of different words that we can use that mean first. Awesome. I also challenged you to think about some words that you think might mean the same as next and then when we're doing our writing. And that means a different word, but it could take us through writing and move us to what happened next. So some words that I thought of were after. So we could say first, I brushed my teeth. And after that, I had some breakfast. Instead of using next or then, we could use after that. We could also use the word afterwards, which means kind of the same as after that. Afterwards, next, then. What else did you think of that meant the same as next and then? Feel free to add into the comments or into our Google Classroom or share with a partner that's sitting with you today. If you're by yourself, you can do some thinking about this with me. I'll share one more that I thought of that meant the same thing as next or then. And I thought of just then. So notice how I still used the word then, but I put just in front of it. So that also could work for a transition word, couldn't it? Just then, I brushed my teeth. And after that, I had some breakfast. Awesome. Let's talk about, boys and girls, other words that you thought of that might mean the same thing as last. And remember, when we were doing our words, we put last at the very, very bottom of our writing because it meant that it was the final thing that we did. It was at the very end. So I just gave a hint. I thought about the end and the final thing or finally could also mean the same thing as last. And I'm wondering, boys and girls, if you thought of some other words that meant the same thing as last. And I would love to hear about them. I know you've got some great ideas. All right. So what I want you to do, boys and girls, is grab your story that you've started working on, and you can pause the video and come back when you're ready with that. But we're going to do a little check-in to make sure that we're ready to roll and on the right track. All right? So pause the video if you need to, and come on back when you're ready. Now that you have your writing journal, we're going to use our checking finger to make sure that we are using those super duper important transition words. So boys and girls, I want you to look at your writing journal, and I'll grab mine so that we're on the same track. Here's my journal. I want you to use your tracking and pointing finger to find where you used the word first. Can you find where you used the word first in your writing? Remember, we spell first, F-I-R-S-T, first. Once you found it, put your finger on it and give yourself a check. Check, check. Good. Next, we're going to look for some more transition words. So I want you to use that same pointing finger, and we're going to go on a hunt in our book and look to see if we can find the words next and then, whoop, or any of those other transition words that we've talked about. After that, just then, finally. All right, once you can think of those words that you have, I want you to point to them. All right, we found first. Now let's point to the next transition words that we've used, if you've used them. Awesome work. If you don't have them yet, that's okay, but we'll make sure when we do our editing that we go back and add them, because we want to make sure that our story is going in order from what happened first to what happened next to then what happened after that and what happens at the very end last. All right. So let's check in, boys and girls, with my writing. And remember, last time we were together, my idea with my story dice were to write about a bumblebee who loved to ride his bike. And we talked about how this would be a fiction story because it's probably not a real thing that a bumblebee would do, is it? So let's go ahead. I'm going to stand up and we'll check in with my writing now. All right. I have my date from yesterday was November 16th. And when I started my writing, I knew that I needed to use that word first. That meant the beginning. So I'm going to point to it just like I asked you to. And here it is. It's got a capital letter, a mountain letter, because it's our first letter at the sentence. My sentence says, first thing in the morning, Mr. B has some coffee. And I know I like to have some coffee first thing in the morning too. All right, I've got to check because I've got my word first, don't I? Let's keep reading, boys and girls. Next, Mr. B rides his bike. Awesome. Did I use a transition word that we've talked about? I sure did. I used the word next, so I'm going to give myself another check. Let's keep reading, boys and girls. Then he rides home. Oh my goodness, did I use another transition word here? I sure have. I've used the word then. So I'm going to underline this word then so we know that it's a transition word. And I've already done that here for next and first. So boys and girls, why don't you as well take your pencil or your writing tool, and I want you to underline. I know we've already pointed, but now I want you to underline those important words that help us move through our writing. All right? The last challenge that I'm going to give you today, boys and girls, is to add more. So in my class, we talk about a small moment. And I know in Miss Lavotti's class, you talk about a small moment in writing as well. So if we have a really super duper small moment, we can add details and help it grow and help it grow and help it get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then we have more to read about and more to share from our small moment. So boys and girls, I need your help with my writing today. Let's see if we can add more detail and more information to our small moments to help them grow. Now, boys and girls, have I finished my story yet? Let's see, I have a beginning and I have some middle. I do not have an ending yet. So boys and girls, I am still working on my story. And while I work on my story, and as you work on your story, it's important that we help it grow so people have more to read about and they'll get more excited about our stories. Okay? So let's look at our first sentence. It says, first thing in the morning, Mr. B has some coffee. And I think and I ask myself, what else could I say about the bee having his coffee? Well, I know with myself, I like to have coffee that does not have any sugar, but it has milk in it. And I wonder, how does Mr. B like to have his coffee? First thing in the morning, Mr. B has some coffee, and I think he likes his coffee warm and black. So just like I've said, I've thought about it, now I need to plan. He likes his coffee warm and black. How many words? 7 words for my sentence. He likes his coffee warm and black. Now, boys and girls, does my new sentence give me more information about Mr. B and his coffee? It does. He likes it to be warm, and on how else? He likes it to be black, which means it doesn't have any cream or milk and no sugar. All right? He likes his coffee warm and black. 7 words. Let's get writing. Remember, boys and girls, when you're writing, you can always use your strategy of pounding and tapping. So if we are going to write the word he, I can tap it out. He. H-E. He. All right. He likes. Likes. He likes it. It. Warm. Warm. And is the sight word that we know. Can you help me spell it? A-N-D. Beautiful. He likes it warm and black. Ready? Black. 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 And a period at the end, because that is my end of my thought. He likes it warm and black. Next, Mr. B rides his bike. And boys and girls, where did Mr. B go? Mr. B rode his bike around town. Let's see if we can edit. Now, I had a period, but I'm going to add on. So I'm going to erase my period. And if you have your pencil, you can use your eraser. Next, Mr. B rides his bike to town. Ow. What else could I say about Mr. B riding his bike? Let me think back to my story dice. Oh my goodness. Well, I remember that he loved his bike, and I haven't told you about that yet in my story, so I better add that. Next, Mr. B rides his bike to town. New sentence. He loves his bike. He loves his bike. How many words? 1, 2, 3, 4. He loves. L-O-V-E-S. We know love with an S. And his is one of our sight words. How do we spell it? H-I-S. Good job. Not a Z, because that's going to trick you. He loves his bike. Bike. He loves his bike. Then he rides home. What could I add? He rides home. I'm wondering, did he pedal slow? Did he pedal fast? What do you think? Let's think about if a bee was riding his bicycle. I think he might go he's gonna go fast. He's a crazy bee. Then he rides home really fast. Let's add those 2 words. Actually, what's another word for really? And it's one of our sight words this week. He rides home very. How do we spell it? V-E-R-Y. Good. very. He rides home very fast. Fast. Very nice. Now, boys and girls, I want you to look. I've written in red today so you can see what I've added on, but you can use your pencil or your tool when you're writing just to see what you add on, and it can be the same, okay? Let's read it one more time, and then I'm going to send you on your way to add just a little more detail and thought to your writing, just like we've practiced here today. First thing in the morning, Mr. B has some coffee. He likes it warm and black. Next, Mr. B rides his bike to town. He loves his bike. Then he rides home very fast. Awesome. Boys and girls, thank you for your help with adding details and thoughts and helping my small moments grow. Go ahead and get started helping your own small moments grow and try to add an ending onto your story if you haven't yet, all right? Good luck and happy writing. Thanks for checking in.